As I put it to him over the phone, if you're really going to do a filibuster, I can give you material that'll keep you busy reading until Christmas.
The person who physically gave me the papers was Ben Begdickian. He was the editor at the Washington Post.
He's a junior senator, and he's from Alaska, and that doesn't carry much weight. So he was, I think, chair of the Building and Grounds Committee.
So we meet, and I want to be a little secretive, so we're meeting outside the Senate chambers in the columns next to the Capitol. Lo and behold, Bob Dole comes out. And Dole sees me, and he has something to say to me, so he comes over. So Ben slips behind the column, and I try to dismiss Dole real quick. And then I go back to Ben. He's going to get the papers to me in some faraway, dark corner of maybe Rock Creek Park. I always said, Ben, that's not the way we're going to do it. At midnight, under the marquee of the Mayflower Hotel, you will park your car there. I will come up next with my car. I'll get out, you open the trunk of your car, and I'll open the trunk of my car.
I drive down in my Carmen Kia, and he's got a couple of aides there, and I said, this is heavy, you may want your aides to carry it. He said, no, I have immunity and they don't.
We transfer the papers to me, just like that, in seconds, and I speed away.
While I was still underground, I was contacted by the most trusted man in America.
Good evening. Daniel Ellsberg, a former State Department and Pentagon planner, and of late something of a phantom figure, agreed today to be interviewed at a secret location. I asked him what he considers the most important revelations to date from the Pentagon documents.
I think the lesson is that the people of this country can't afford to let the president run the country by himself without the help of the Congress, without the help of the public.
Dan does this interview, which comes out on CBS, nationwide television, as the biggest FBI manhunt since the Lindbergh kidnapping is going on looking for us. But we still hadn't given out enough of the papers.
Today, another lid broke loose. The Boston Globe began its series based on presumably classified government documents.
The Chicago Sun-Times entered the drama today by running a story which says that the Kennedy administration...
Today, the 11 night newspapers and the Los Angeles Times joined the procession.
The ball game was over. Any effort at suppressing the Pentagon Papers was going to fail. Dan and his network had distributed portions of the Pentagon Papers to 17 different organizations.
They couldn't stop them. As one of the lawyers said, it was like herding bees.
The press said, we can look at this, we can make a valid judgment about what serves national security, and we can be and will be independent from our government. And that was a declaration of independence, and it really changed the relationship between the government and the media ever since.
The Pentagon Papers story was on the nightly news, the first 7 or 8 minutes of the nightly news, every night for 2 weeks.
So that gave it as much public attention as I could possibly ask for.
We were underground, so we were able to watch the news day and night. And this thing was unfolding in the most dramatic way.
Alaska's 41-year-old Democratic Senator Mike Gravel held a mock meeting of his subcommittee on buildings and grounds with only himself present and began reading aloud the 7,000-page Pentagon secret report in public.
The papers prove that for 20 years, we have been victims of our Southeast Asia policy.
I was frightened to death over releasing the Pentagon Papers. I had no idea whether I was going to prison. All I could think of was, my country is killing people, we're maiming Americans, and this is terrible. And so I was overcome with emotion, not patriotism, just emotion of something you love dearly that has gone astray.
He continued until exhaustion and emotion overcame him after 1 o'clock this morning.
I collected myself, and I asked, now keep in mind, I'm the only one on the committee. I asked unanimous consent to put all of these papers into the record, and I've got the gavel, and I slam it, and I say, hearing no objection, so ordered, that's it, papers are out. They're in the Senate record.
Can you stop? Slow down.
Even if the FBI had wanted to arrest him outside the courthouse this morning, they probably couldn't have done it. Ellsberg was walled off by newsmen and supporters, as he admitted that he was indeed the man who brought the Pentagon Papers to the press and congressional leaders.
I did this clearly at my own jeopardy, and I am prepared to answer to all the consequences of these decisions.
Dr. Ellsberg, you have any concern about the possibility of going to prison for this?
Wouldn't you go to prison to help fund this war?
In one of the most important judicial decisions in the history of the country, the Supreme Court today ruled that the New York Times and the Washington Post may continue to publish the secret Pentagon Papers.
The ruling was amazingly simple. It was that proving the need for prior censorship is a heavy burden, and the government didn't meet that burden.
The decision was a great one. The story today is what the Constitution of this country means to us. I've never appreciated what the meaning and importance of separation of powers is so much as in the last week.
Were you surprised at how the...
When Dan Ellsberg released the Pentagon Papers, he was doing it to stop the war. Perhaps the most important legacy he left us with, though, was a Supreme Court case, the Pentagon Papers case, which is perhaps the most important First Amendment decision in the court's history. I can guarantee you that every day there's a First Amendment lawyer out there citing the Pentagon Papers case in order to protect free speech and free press against government encroachment.
When we finally won the right to continue publication from the Supreme Court, this was a firm ruling that national security alone, the cry of national security, does not justify censorship in advance.
I wanted to tell you that I was so damn mad when that Supreme Court had to come down. First, I didn't like their decision, but unbelievable, wasn't it?
It was unbelievable.
You know, those clowns we got on there, I'll tell you, I hope I outlive the bastards.
Persons close to the president vehemently deny that he is in any vengeful mood toward the New York Times or any other newspaper. As for fears expressed by reporters and editors that there is big trouble ahead from the administration, the Nixon men say that is pure paranoia, ridiculous.
Mr. Ellsberg, or Dr. Ellsberg himself, has been hailed as a hero by a lot of people, condemned as a traitor by others. We welcome, please, the man who made the whole thing possible, Dr. Daniel Ellsberg.
I think that the drama that surrounded the release of the papers, which centered on the personality and experience of Dan Ellsberg himself, gave the papers a prominence that they probably wouldn't have had a grayer personality been associated with this release.
That much applause without even doing a monologue? That's amazing. Is there any way to answer in 30 seconds what people can do?
I think one thing that people will conclude when they read it is that they have not asked enough. They have not expected enough or demanded enough in the way of boldness, in the way of responsibility from their public servants. Make that known, and I think that our Constitution will continue to function better than it has been in the past.
I think he did betray a trust, and he put in jeopardy not only his welfare, but that of everybody else who was involved.
There was no question in my mind that my best friend, really, Harry Rowan, would be definitely associated with what I'd done. And the fact that I did it while he was president, that this happened, this security breach happened. So I knew that would hurt him, might lose him his job, as it did, actually. E.M. Forster said, if I had to choose between betraying my country and betraying a friend, I hope I should have the guts to betray my country. And I remember when that was quoted to me, my reaction right away was, I don't agree with that at all. We're talking about many, many, many lives here. We're talking about shortening a war.
Not long after the release of the Pentagon Papers, I was at a conference at UCLA. There were at least a dozen people from Iran at that conference. and not